One thing that higher rated players are really good at is exhibiting aggression in their lane and being able to dominate that lane, pushing their lead through mid game and ending the game quickly. However, one problem that arises from this quite frequently, especially in the higher ELOs, is that a lot of players will just get too aggressive. They'll find themselves taking unnecessary tower shots, missing CS, and dying to any ganks that might occur. Today we're going to be going over everything it means to be exhibiting controlled aggression in the laning phase. This is one of the many small mistakes that higher ELO players make that stop them from climbing into Master or Grandmaster or even Challenger. Now for those of you who are in the lower ELOs, I would highly recommend just getting used to playing with aggression. You don't really necessarily need to put these tips into practice. The main goal for you is just to get as much experience as possible. Playing with aggression allows you to get that experience quickly, learn each matchup because you're constantly going to be fighting. The more experience that you get in these matchups, the more often you're going to be able to win them, allowing you to carry more games and climb to higher ELO while carrying your games. If your goal is to climb as high as possible on the ladder, then eventually you are going to have to learn how to play with aggression, so it's something that I recommend that you try sooner rather than later. Now for those of you who haven't already, make sure to check out our website GameLeap.com. There we have hundreds of guides all done by Challenger players sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses, so if that is something that interests you, then make sure to check us out using the link in the description below and sign up today. Now, just a fair warning, this is a very rigorous topic and we're going to be covering a lot of complex mechanics that you're going to need to understand in order to control your aggression. Starting off right away, in order to know what level of aggression you need to be exhibiting, you need to know the lane matchup itself. This is something that you can only learn through playing the lane matchup over and over and over again. While this is the simplest concept that we're going to be covering today, it is also the most time consuming and you're only going to be able to get this experience by playing. One tricks are going to be able to learn all of these matchups quicker than somebody who's just following the meta. This is because one tricking has less matchups that you have to learn simply because you're only learning the matchups from one character. Now the higher you climb, the less diverse of a champion pool you're going to be playing against, so that does help with things a little bit, but it will still take time to learn each and every matchup no matter who you are. The key here is just don't get frustrated. This is the first and most important step. You can't really move on to the other steps until you have this one mastered. This is why this topic is mostly geared towards higher ELO players, since most low ELO players don't have every single matchup mastered yet, and that's fine. It does take a lot of work, and it's going to take the most work out of any of these tips. Now, once you have all of the time-consuming aspects down, you know each matchup and how to perform each trade into each champion that you play or play against, this is where the strategy comes into play. Just because you can win a trade doesn't mean you should be going for that trade. This is the part that I see most diamond players missing. They want to be up in your face, all action, all the time, but they're not thinking about what they're sacrificing or what they're risking in order to perform this trade. There are a few main things that you need to be watching before you commit to a trade. The first is the wave. If you are winning a lane, typically it means you have control over the wave and you're managing it in whatever way you want, whether this is a slow push, a neutral lane, or a frozen lane. If you are able to win a trade, but you have to sacrifice wave control in order to do that, then you need to think, is that going to be worth it? For example, is breaking a freeze in order to perform a trade going to be worthwhile if the enemy champion is just going to base and then teleport back to the wave? In this situation, it's oftentimes better to just hold your freeze for the next 2 to 3 minutes, deny gold from the enemy laner, than to even attempt a kill on that laner. Oftentimes you can build a bigger gold lead through wave management than you are able to off of just killing somebody. Here you need to make a decision between two things. The first choice is the safe choice. This is where you would hold your freeze for as long as possible and deny as much CS as possible. This results in more of a gold lead, but you won't have as much of an EXP lead as if you were to kill the enemy champion. Holding the freeze in this example is always the safe play to do because you are at no risk when you are close to your tower, and it will still exert pressure on the map because the enemy jungler is going to be forced to come into your lane to break that freeze. Now, the other option that you have is to go for a heavy trade or all in. This is the risky play here, and while it is more rewarding in terms of an EXP gap, the gold gap is going to be somewhat similar to the freezing play. This is risky because you could accidentally break your freeze during this trade. The enemy jungler could be in your lane performing a gank. You don't really know what's going to happen here, whereas freezing, you guaranteed know what's going to happen. Now, this is not to say that you should just hold a freeze for the entire game, never fight, ever. No, that is not at all what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is you should be freezing unless you know that the play that you're going to go for is not a risky play to be making, or even if it is risky, you stand a good chance of coming out on top regardless. This would be if the enemy jungler comes into your lane, you're able to kill them 1v2, or if you accidentally break the freeze, you're still going to be able to perform a slow push and then turn that into a dive. Now, this is just one example on if you're freezing. Obviously, your lane isn't always going to be in a freeze. Sometimes you're going to want to be doing different things with the wave. Now, an example in the opposite direction while still pertaining to wave management would be if you are initiating a slow push and looking for a dive. Exhibiting over-aggression in this case can cause you to fail to dive in two different ways. The first way is you go for a trade, putting your abilities on cooldown before you're actually able to initiate that dive. By the time your wave crashes into the enemy tower, your abilities aren't off cooldown yet and you're no longer able to initiate that dive, so the enemy laner gets two waves that they normally wouldn't be able to get if you were to successfully perform that dive. The second way that over-aggression messes this up is if you go for a trade in the enemy minion wave and you accidentally push it too fast, and then you don't have enough minions to make the dive work. Dives are all about patience. The more minions you have at the enemy tower, the more time you're going to have to work with. Now, this is all great, but how do you know if you are a player that is suffering from these kinds of mistakes? After all, it is very hard to take an introspective look at your own play and see, am I making a mistake here? Is there something that is more optimal than what I actually am doing? You are most likely suffering from this if you find yourself shoving waves back and forth playing ping pong with the enemy laner. Remember, you shouldn't only be thinking about the wave once or twice in a lane, you should be constantly thinking about what you want it to do. But even that isn't going to be enough. Just thinking about what you want the wave to do isn't going to make it magically do that thing. You need to take action and make the wave do what you want it to do. Take control of the lane whenever possible, get wave control whenever possible, and you will be able to see a lot more opportunities open up to you because of that. Now, as for the second part of this, how do you stop over-aggression from ruining your wave control? Once you have the wave control, actively think about how you can keep that wave control and how you can stop yourself from losing it. What are the conditions that are going to break whatever mechanic that you're currently using? Be very careful of trading in minion waves because this is going to change the dynamic of the lane. It's going to speed up how fast your minions are pushing to theirs. This is something that's going to take a lot of effort. Changing yourself from an aimless laner who constantly just plays ping pong with the enemy, never looking for wave control, who just trades meaninglessly, into a player that consistently looks to seize control of the lane, only taking disciplined trades, is something that's very hard to do. It's going to take a lot of time and discipline to stop these meaningless trades from happening. It's also going to take a lot of discipline to constantly be looking at the wave and what you want to do with that wave. This is one of the hardest things to develop simply because it requires so much attention and discipline. You're not going to be able to develop this skill while on autopilot. It's going to require attention to detail. Now, most people are going to be exhausted after only a few hours of doing this when they first start. That is okay, that is 100% normal. Do not get discouraged when you're feeling exhausted after only playing a few hours. You want to be able to keep that attention and focus for as long as possible, and you're going to have to train your body to get used to committing that amount of focus and attention to each and every game for as long as you can. It's the same as training a muscle. It's going to take a lot of time, it's going to take a lot of effort, and you need the right fuel for it as well. Make sure you're drinking a lot of water to keep your mind clear. Make sure you're getting enough food in your body. Just a light snack is okay to keep your mind working at 100%. If you're feeling sluggish or drained after a game, take 10 to 15 minutes for a quick snack, water, bathroom break, stretch your body, make sure that you're feeling good, get the blood flowing, and then you can start looking to play again after that if you still want to. Let me tell you from experience, sitting in a chair for 6 hours straight, just playing without putting any nourishment into your body, without moving, is just going to cause you to go straight into autopilot mode, and you're not going to be able to take on this task. I know it might sound ridiculous to you, but this is something that really does help a lot, and it helps you develop that focus and attention to a point where you can keep it up for hours upon hours every single day. Once you've worked at it to a point where you can sit through your entire solo queue day without losing focus or discipline, you've done it. You've completely maximized everything there is to controlling your wave and stopping over-aggression from happening. By having a complete understanding of each and every lane matchup, knowing how to manipulate minions in those matchups, and having the discipline to actually go out and do it, you're already well on your way to climbing out of Diamond into Master and Grandmaster ELOs. Again, this is going to take a lot of time and effort, but if you're able to do it, then you're going to be able to see a lot of difference in your play and your rank. Now, this topic is too big to cover in just one video, so we are splitting it into two different parts. I want to do this topic justice, and I want to help you higher ELO players break any ceiling that you might be seeing right now. For those of you who are still looking to improve your play on various other topics, make sure to check out our website, GameLeap.com. We have hundreds of guides all done by challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses, and after checking it out myself personally, I can honestly say this is one of the best learning tools out there for you if you want to be improving your play. Check us out using the link in the description below and sign up today. Now, just a small closing note for you guys that are still watching. This is a topic that I've only ever covered with my little brother in coaching sessions. Before this video, it's something that I've only ever kept to myself. I've never really shared it with anyone, really. This is something that I know works because it's something that I specifically worked with him on very in depth, and he was able to see a lot of success from it. It's something that when he focuses, it turns him from a random diamond player into one of the most talented players naturally that I've ever seen in my life. This is why I truly believe that if you guys are able to apply it to your own play, that you'll see the same results. Another thing that I wanted to say is that I didn't realize that we had so many higher ELO viewers for this channel. I had the wonderful opportunity to come into contact with a lot of you guys personally, whether it's through Discord or Reddit, or while I was climbing one of my accounts through Diamond. The overwhelming support that you guys showed me through these mediums really motivated me to do as good of a job that I could on this video to give as much back to you guys as possible. Part 2 is going to be coming soon, and I would ask that if you guys really did enjoy this video or found it helpful, that you would leave a like on the video. It helps us a lot, and it'll show us that these videos are worth mixing into our normal rotation of videos. Usually it is a lot harder to make a video on higher ELO topics succeed since the vast majority of players and therefore viewers are not high ELO. That does just about wrap everything up for today's video. As always, I'm Panther. I hope you learned something valuable, and I will see you in the next one.